I'm not in there. Says this meeting is being live streamed. Got it.
Cool.
Fabulous.
Are we live?
I'm about to go over to my channel and confirm that we are. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you see it?
No. Hold on.
Okay.
I mean, don't hold on. You do your thing. I'll keep.
You'll catch up.
I'll find it somehow.
Do you want me to? Here, I can send the link to you. And then that way you'll see it.
Okay.
There we go. And I can put it in email too, and that'll make it easier.
Oh, it's that. Oh, I gotcha.
Okay. Oh, okay, perfect. There you go. Amazing. Cool. And welcome, everyone. Let me just see what's going on in the chat. Yay, there's Allison. We are live. And Susan Colon, welcome. And Graham V, thank you. Great to see you all here. Woohoo, this is going to be fun. Very excited y'all have decided to join. We hit that button. Got it. Yes. And just type in welcome. You guys can all hear me, right? You guys have to let me know if you can hear me. Allie, you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Good. I still hear you too. Amazing. Hey, Kylie, welcome. Tania and Ann Morgan, great to have you guys here. This is thrilling. I'm super excited. All of you guys have decided to join for Creator Conference. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I am a Western astrologer, and this particular year's astrology has had so many shifts, big shifts, dynamic shifts into the world of something new, something different, a quantum leap forward in so many ways. And you don't even have to understand astrology to just feel that we're all kind of shaking off 2020 and all of the ramifications that came with and stepping into a new era. And so with this, I thought, you know, what better than to give people access to tools and resources that would facilitate their ability to quantum leap with the energy and cross that bridge instead of looping and repeating old patterns, which is so easy to do when we're not consciously greeting change when the energy or the wave of change arrives. So here we are with a rock star lineup, and this is the first of, I think, about 13 interviews that we have for this week for Creator Conference. And we are joined today by the amazing, the illustrious, the so much fun, Allie Tarot. It's wonderful to have you here, Allie. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me amongst everybody else. You've got a very amazing lineup there. Can't wait to see everybody.
Oh, the lineup is... when you guys hear like what some of these people have done, you're going to be like, wait, what? And you are one of those people. So I know you're a spiritual life coach. If you didn't already know, she is a Holy Fire Karuna Reiki master, an animal Reiki master, and a plant medicine facilitator. In addition to being a mom to how many fur babies? We've got about 4 fur babies at this point.
4 and almost a monkey.
What? You never said.
Not yet for the monkey, not yet, but I was this close.
Oh my gosh. Well, if it gets there, we need a special lives just for the fur family.
Yeah.
Well, after the loss of her fiance and her father, Allie found herself truck driving all over the United States, and through a series of events began to work with plant medicine for a few years to better understand her soul, her life path, and to integrate her shadow. You could say that she hit one of those crossroads where the big questions were up. Who am I? Why am I? And what the heck is my life at this point? Through the process, she moved into a complete ego death that allowed her to be reborn into her true self. And that breakdown became the breakthrough that she needed as she hit the lowest point and just decided to give up on changing her life. It was the process that giving up simply just meant giving up control. And after about a month later, launched the YouTube channel, Reading Tarot. And within 2 years, you were at over 500,000 subscribers, which is relatively fast in YouTube world to get beyond 500,000. I think you're probably closer to almost where you are now, like the 7 or 8 mark within the first 2 years, 700,000 subscriber mark. And this really gave her the opportunity to quit truck driving within a couple of months and renewed investment in her growth. She graduated from her coaching program at the Divine Intelligence Institute, the Relationship Reinvented coaching program with Lee and Sherry. Special guests coming up this week. So definitely subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get some of that yummy union energy those two bask in. And she's gone on to become a Holy Fire Karuna Reiki Master, an Animal Reiki Master, and plant medicine facilitator. Her beloved cats and dogs can be seen regularly on her weekly updates on Allie's Tarot on YouTube. If you have not subscribed, please do. Thank you, Kylie, for dropping the link in the chat. I really appreciate it. And they frequently assist with the readings, providing extra love and insights as only pet familiars can. I hope some of them grace us with their presence tonight.
Hope so too. They're sleeping though. But
maybe they'll come by, say hi.
no, we don't want them up, trust me.
We don't want them saying hi.
Yeah, commotion. No. Finally quiet.
Oh my goodness.
I just as a forewarning, I will be looking a little bit down because I did open up your YouTube invitation, but I have it on my phone, so I'm looking
You're checking, watching the chat and stuff.
Yeah, as many things as I did, which that doesn't even sound like me sometimes. I'm so not well with technology. Like the more older I get, the worse I get with it. So it's like, oh, okay, now I gotta look at this now. So I'm kind of checking the comments too from time to time. That's why I'm looking down.
Right on.
But yeah, thank you for that introduction. As I said, sometimes it feels like that's not even me. But
well, you do tend to evolve pretty rapidly. I've noticed you're the kind of person. It's like I talk to you like once, and then 6 months later, I talk to you again, and then 6 months after that, and I'm like, you're not even the same person as 2 times ago, let alone the last time. Like, how is this even possible?
yeah,
So
I actually remember the first reading you did for me, and you said like 1 year from now, you have no idea what's ahead. I'm like, yeah, no, but I think neither did you for me.
well, I saw what was coming in your chart. I could see
Yeah.
there was going to be a huge opening for transformation, and you jumped on it. And so I guess that brings us into our first kind of conversation topic of the night. I have noticed that you are what I and probably what most people would consider a master manifester. Like you do not stand on ceremony. When you see something you want to put into motion, it just moves. There's very little static between you and result in your life. Can you share some of the things that you've called out of the ether and into the world that maybe even surprised you?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one is my life right now, but just a couple of days ago, I was actually thinking about my first big manifestation that I had, that I put out there, which actually happened during a plant medicine ceremony, which we'll go over. But I had this big plan of, working from home and working from anywhere I want, anytime I want, and giving back to the world somehow. I had no idea how. Just doing that. And then that manifestation actually included like little parts of something else. And just a couple of days ago, I was thinking, I'm like, that's actually all included in it. So I just didn't necessarily pay attention and didn't really see it. And I'm like, it's all in there, whatever I asked for that one time, So it was quite funny when I noticed that. And then, humbleness again. I'm like, okay, so there we go. getting it, and just I'm still kind of blown away by how this is happening, especially the manifestation part, because I was never really this master manifester all my life.
No?
Not consciously, not consciously. I was, but not consciously, not to this level.
Mm, mhm. So
Yeah.
things would happen around you and you'd think it would be just life.
I knew it had to do with me. I just couldn't pinpoint it. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably attracting this or creating this. I just have no idea how, or if I'm even that important to create this. And
Ooh.
apparently I was.
Ooh. Can you tell us what that means? Like that important to create?
Um, that important meaning that you have a voice that you put out there to the universe, and the universe actually responds. And a lot of the times I would take it as, nobody out there is going to listen to me, again, self-worth kind of things, because if that's not aligned, manifestation is probably not going to come through. So just thinking of myself, I knew there was something with me, I just didn't know what. And I know a lot of people have that sense of there's something special about me, but we don't want to fly with that too much, because then we're in our ego, and and then you get to the conclusion that you're not that important, and you actually are. You just got to get to that place of finding your importance within yourself, and just kind of appreciating that, and finding that corner that you belong to in this world, because we all have a little corner there. And once you align with that, boom, manifestation left and right. There's a lot going around self-worth, I would say. And a lot of the times we put ourselves down, and we're not allowing ourselves to just kind of trust that it's always this dialogue between us and whatever forces are out there. We just got to trust that. And once we do, bam, the response comes. We just have to be able to recognize it. And speaking of manifestation that I didn't recognize, and even bad ones, I remember I was 18 once, and I was really pissed off because somebody cut me off in a parking lot. And I was so pissed off that I really meant it when I said, I hope you end up in the first pole somewhere with your car. And then I hear this big crash, and it actually happened. And I'm like,
Whoa.
shit. Yeah, that was the first time where I actually thought, this is not a coincidence, because that was the first time when I actually meant it, even if it was in anger and in a bad way, but it actually happened. And that kind of scared me. But I also realized that I think we have power, all of us, to create stuff. Hopefully not in a negative way. It depends on, because we all have light and darkness within us. It just depends on what route we take. But that was my big aha moment about this. But I was too young to actually do something about it, I guess.
Wow. Do you remember the first thing you intentionally, like first big thing you intentionally tried to call in? Like, was it a house? Was it the truck you were driving? Was it going overseas?
None of those things. The first big thing is the manifestation I was talking about earlier. This kind of life where I think it was the first time I actually did it properly. In terms of, I was so aligned with myself that I didn't care how my life would look like. I just knew it would be aligned with me, and that I would get what I deserve by what I give, like in rapport with that somehow. So it was, I have no idea what it's going to be. I just want it to be something to give back to the world, to the earth, because the earth gave me so much, especially through ceremonies at that time. So it was something like that, where I had no idea it's going to be tarot, and incorporating a little bit of coaching with that, where I was like, I'm not going to do it like it's done traditionally necessarily. I just want to put in a little bit of, why don't we look at ourselves a little bit, into my readings, rather
A,
than let's look at the other person.
a lot of bit of that.
Little, a lot, a bit of that. Yeah, most of it. Uh,
Yeah, it's a big piece of your charm over there at Allie's Tarot. Like, so here's what the two people are doing, but let's deal with you, shall we?
yeah, it's kind of like, let's look at the bigger picture, but then let's look at what's important.
You.
Pretty much.
What you're bringing to the table. Yeah, I love that.
And it
Uh,
manifestation comes in those little forms, if you want, of relating to others and all sorts of things that do show up in readings. So that's why I kind of like smack people with, okay, you gotta get your shit together, because otherwise things are not going to work out, and it starts with you.
hmm.
So kind of looking at little things that we can manifest, not something huge, because that'll come. I think that's your soul coming in and kind of telling you, hey, you'll get yours, just take care of the little stuff first to put it out of the way, and then things will show up for you. And sometimes we don't even know what we want, in all honesty.
Talk about haphazard creatorship there. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think? So, and that brings me kind of to the next question, because you mentioned the sense that like there is something special about me. And I'm not quite sure what it is, but I do notice there's a something here that allows things to come into form. And then I'm sure you've also met or seen people in your life. Things don't come into form for them.
I have seen that, and what's even more ironic is the fact that I see that they have that ability to do that just like that if they were aligned.
Talk
With
to us about alignment. What is that?
um alignment would be, because even I'm off balance sometimes, it's not like I'm this perfect, oh, I ride the wave of perfection all the time and I manifest like that. No, I'm human, I have my ups, my downs, and um but when you start getting it, when you start, alignment to me means whatever you feel inside deeply within yourself, and you have to go through quite the healing to get there and to be honest about it. It reflects outside. To me, that's alignment, where it starts to be seen, to be reflected outside. Where if I feel, I don't like to be in this place at this point, but I'm going to stay here because my family is here, and I have an obligation. Fuck that. If I don't feel good about it, I'm going to be out. I don't care that my family's there. I'm going to talk to them after or something. And I'm not doing it for somebody else. I'm doing it for me. Little things like that, where at some point it becomes you, part of you, where whatever you feel inside, it's just going to show up outside of yourself. And once you get to that point, you'll see what you attract, and you attract what resonates with that energy. And that's where I said sometimes we don't even know what we want, because if we're confused out of our heads, we don't even know that we need something or we want something. So through that alignment, that's when you actually know what you want. Clarity comes through. So you'll start attracting that, and then you're like, oh, this is what I needed. This is what I wanted, where little things don't necessarily matter that you thought you wanted. So that to me would be alignment. And even I'm not aligned sometimes, it happens, where I get off balance, but just recognizing it and getting back on that horse is important also, you know.
Mm. I think one of the easiest ways to know that we're out of alignment, as you say, is that there's a gap between what it is we want to experience, a car, a house, a school, whatever, a relationship, and where we're at right now. That's a pretty big sign. Alignment is not happening.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was driving that truck and breaking my back, and I'm like, I really don't want to be doing this, where I ended up saying I want to do this all my life and die being a trucker, when I was
Oh,
fighting with the universe. But the more you resist that, the more you you wish for something to be, well, you wish for your reality to be different. And when you do that, and when you're so even angry about that, that it's not different, that it's not what you want it to be, a house, a car, whatever you want for yourself, and it's like, oh, I'm not having that, oh, I'm never gonna have, the more you're actually not accepting the reality you're actually in. And when you do that, things get a little nasty,
Mm.
not accepting that, hey, I'm here, I'm doing this, it sucks, and I do want something else, but I have to be here with what this is. And once that full acceptance happens, then it's easier to unpack, to the real you, to bring that energy out so that you can attract what you actually want. That's in my experience, at least.
Mm. I really appreciate hearing you say it particularly that way, because it's through the acceptance of what's so that we get to change what's so into what we want it to be.
Yeah.
We think it's through fighting what's so.
Yeah. It's
Like,
actually the opposite.
isn't that some counterintuitive nonsense, right? How does that work?
I know, because the obvious choice would be, oh, I don't like what I'm doing.
Right? Like, if I don't like chocolate, I'm going to go get what I do like. Maybe I like strawberries.
Yeah.
It seems obvious, like, well, why would I eat the chocolate if what I really want is the strawberries?
And ironically, on your way to get strawberries, you would see chocolate everywhere, I'm assuming.
You could
Probably.
offer some for free. Right? You'd see some that you didn't even know you had stuck in your back of your fridge.
Exactly.
Yeah, it'd be that kind of circumstance.
And
So you
it's kind of working the same, going back to plant medicine and ceremonies. It's kind of working the same in ceremonies when you actually choose this healing path. The more you resist it, the harder it's going to get. Whatever comes through that you need to look at and heal. And again, those obstacles that need to be removed so that you can get to your true self, the shittier it's going to get. It's
So
not
let's
pleasant.
take a step back. What is plant medicine for anyone who's new to the concept?
Well, there's several ways to approach that. My personal experience with plant medicine was, my main one was through ayahuasca. And then there's, of course, other methods, but that was my primary choice. And it's a tool to help you heal if you can embrace it and can interpret it in the way that it is going to be healing. It's quite difficult to interpret what you get from it, and a lot of people get stuck in there. And what's even most important about it is not even the ceremonies themselves, is the integration process. What you do afterwards with what you got, how you apply it in your life.
So the medicine, I imagine, is made from a plant and it is delivered via what you call a ceremony. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay, got it. And the ceremony is a discrete experience, but it's what you just named, the integration process. That's the place where real transformation of self and then life unfolds.
Yeah, that's everybody's personal way of dealing with what they got in ceremonies, and it's going to be different, from person to person.
Wow. Okay. And so you said there's many different types of plant medicine, but the one that you've experienced historically was ayahuasca. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, got it. And what does it do per se for a person, if we can kind of give people a meta understanding of, like, here's what it is, how it works, why you would use it?
That's that's the tricky part about it, because it's very hard to explain, like, especially for people that never did it. The best thing and the best advice for them would be to not look into it too much in terms of creating expectation over what it could be, because it's such a personal process that they might build their expectation based on somebody else's stories and somebody else's experiences, and that could be off. Because as I said, it's a personal process. But overall, what they could expect is, in the bigger picture of things, some things about themselves are going to be revealed, about their traumas, their lives, their personal, whatever they got going on, and especially leading towards things that they don't want to deal with it in a day-to-day life, things that they probably avoid without even knowing that they are. So all of those things might be revealed in one way or another. And that's the part where it's a little tricky in terms of trying to uncover that and trying to interpret that in a very healing way for you. And then once you get that, because eventually you do get it, you know, where it kind of leads you and what you need to do about it, you go to the integration part of it, and that's where the even more trickier part stands, because it's like, okay, in your day-to-day life where you're used to doing things in this way, what are you doing with this new information and this new healing part of yourself? How do you kind of integrate that? You know, what are you doing to change that about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take some time. You know, some people expect that they do 1-2 ceremonies and they're like, my life has completely changed. It's going to take some time, you know, and not necessarily, oh, you don't have to do 100 ceremonies. It's going to take some time for the integration part. You know, some things may integrate in a year that you thought you were done with, and they may show up and it's like, oh, now I get it, you know. So it might be a little tricky. It might be a little tricky, but it's, in my opinion, one of the most profound and deep healing methods, for myself, at least, you know, and for others that I know too.
Got it. And so if I could just put maybe some technical Googled language around it, what we're talking about here is a plant, literally, animal, vegetable, mineral, it's a plant
That
that is
it's
grown,
it's kind of like a brew, like a tea,
brewed like tea,
kind of tea, made from 2 plants,
made
and
from plants.
you drink that, you
And
go
it
to,
facilitates an opening of the subconscious mind for a
yeah,
person to have the opportunity to integrate dismembered or fragmented pieces of themselves under the guidance of a facilitator. Do I have it correct?
yes,
Okay. And so traditionally, this has come to us worldwide through shamans of indigenous cultures. Yes.
correct,
Uh-huh. And it is delivered via the experience that you call a ceremony.
correct. I knew you would have the Google description of it,
The
because I'm
sound bite.
good with that. I'm just going to tell you, hey, ceremonies, yay.
Well, I just want to make sure there are some folks in the chat who have
Yeah,
mentioned that they have never heard of this. This is their first time about hearing about these
yeah,
things.
yeah, that would be a proper introduction for sure. And a good advice is to look for a good facilitator, someone you trust, and
We'll
talk
get to that.
we'll talk
Yeah.
about later. Yeah.
Yeah. Because many of these things, like, we've seen some of the work of Michael Pollan, for example, and some of the folks who are on the leading edge of um, the science of psychedelics and the ways that they have healing properties for humans who have experienced trauma or depression. And so his book, How to Change Your Mind, I think that came out in 2018. What the New Science of Psychedelics teaches us about consciousness, dying, addiction, depression, and transcendence. He has a correlate 4-part series on Netflix that you can have a look at. It goes into detail about tangential pieces to what we're talking about tonight. But essentially, the experience that we're talking about here gives us the opportunity to understand, wow, there are ways in which we can become better versions, wholer versions of who we really are if we're willing to have this discrete mediated experiences with these controlled substances. And so somebody mentioned in the chat, isn't this illegal? And yes, depending upon the country you happen to be in, and there are people who watch, who subscribe to the channel worldwide. Depending upon where you are, it may be. Not in every country is it, but in some countries it is. And so you want to obviously pay attention to the regulatory bodies, and what they're saying is appropriate for the country you live in. But these things are becoming more and more accessible with the greater interconnectedness of our world and our ability to travel and be in places that we previously didn't have access to. So that's an exciting prospect for those of us on healing journeys and spiritual journeys. Okay, so you mentioned ayahuasca. There are other types of plant medicine that exist in this world too that you may have heard about that you may want to share, or could you give them a nod with an acknowledgement that they exist? Maybe people can research them as they're ready, and how they can help a person tap into their potential.
Yeah, I don't know of many. I'm
Oh,
not
you don't know of many. Okay.
well, I know of a few. The obvious ones. Mushrooms is one.
Oh, yeah. Michael Pollan wrote about that in his book. There's a lot of research going on around that right now, psilocybin.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Which one was that? Other one. Ooh, I'm blanking on that one. But it's usually referred as ayahuasca is the grandmother energy, and the other one why I can't remember it. The other one is the grandfather.
San Pedro?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this one, as I said, but I don't
Yeah.
know. And I've heard of plenty over the years, but in all honesty, I didn't necessarily have the curiosity to dive into all of them, because at that point it feels like, okay, maybe I would try it once, but I didn't even have that curiosity to try them once. There's a couple related to certain frogs.
Somebody mentioned in the chat combo. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in the jungle for 2 months, so I've heard of things.
You've heard of many things.
Heard of things. But with my memory around names, no, it's going to be hard to remember.
Iboga. Somebody mentioned Iboga as well in the chat. Yeah. So there are different pathways if you're guided in this direction. And I think it's an important distinction. Somebody had mentioned, they asked, so wait, did plant medicine help you manifest? And I think that what we're clarifying here isn't that it helps you manifest, it's that it helps you become whole.
Yeah. My manifestation definitely started during a ceremony, but it was after quite a few ceremonies and quite a year or two of integration work based on those ceremonies, where I actually cleared a lot of trauma I had, a lot of things that were in the way of me and my own manifestation. So yeah, they coincided in that way. But as Kamen said, first you got to kind of come together with your true self, and then manifestation is going to be a breeze, from that point.
Isn't that interesting? Because a lot of people talk about the earth and, consciousness and all this being a hologram and none of it being real. But it's like the wholer you become in yourself, the more access you have to plucking any piece of the reality that you might like to experience forward. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's quite ironic.
Yeah. Um, and so would you, I mean, I kind of put the words in your mouth that wholeness is what unlocks manifestation potential, but is that what you would say was true for you or?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't think I could have manifested anything that I manifested without the work I've done during ceremonies for the most part. And it's very hard to, as I said, it's going to be a very personal experience to each of us. So it's hard to tell, hey, I cleared that trauma or that trauma or that trauma to help out others, because ultimately I think we have the same traumas. It's just how we experience them that is different. So basically things are going to show up for you, and do you want to see them or not? There's things that you just don't want to look at. And the more you push those things aside, like we said with the chocolate and strawberries, the more chocolate you're going to see. The more you push those to the side, the more things are not going to manifest into your life, and you're not going to attract something that speaks directly to you, to your frequency. Quite the opposite, because manifestation can go south also. So
I am curious about your opinion about something, and then we'll take the last question, maybe take some audience questions, because there's some great audience questions in the chat. There are some people that we might look at in the world who we would say maybe aren't so whole. I can think of maybe a few world leaders we might put in that bucket. When we look at their decisions, like that doesn't seem like it came from a whole place, sir, ma'am, sir. Seems like it came from a very broken place, these decisions you're making for all of us.
yeah.
I guess I'm curious, what's your perspective on people who seem to be able to manifest things, but it's like they're coming from these broken places. Like, why are they also able to manifest, but some of us other mere mortals aren't?
I think it's easier to manifest from a negative side, from a darker place of, as I said, that's belief, at least, that we're all made of light and dark. And the dark side is usually run by fear, and most of us are run to some extent by fear. But when we fall into that place completely and we're like, yeah, okay, I give up because, I want to be in control and I think I'm in control, that's usually, as far as I'm concerned, that's usually fear that speaks. And it's so much easier to get in that place than to fight for the other side of you, the lighter side.
And manifest from light. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have no explanation as to why it's so easier to fall into that darker side of yourself sometimes, but and why it's so hard to actually fight for the lighter one. But I do know that, like I said in my example, when I was younger, right? Like, I really wish you would hit that pole, and then bam, it happened. And it was so easy. I was just pissed off, so I got there very easily. Getting to the light part, it's harder, definitely. But it's so much easier, I think, when you get there. The end result is so much, I don't even know how to explain it.
Cleaner, purer.
Yeah. It's just
Lighter.
light.
So this is the best word for it is light.
It is, yeah. The other one is too complicated. Yeah, you get there, but then what do you accomplish? It's like, oh, okay, that person might be hurt now. Shit, that's what I did, but
It's interesting. I was curious about your perspective on it because mine has been that the dominant frequency of this world is one of separation because we live in the world of physical form. And as opposed to the world of the ethers, which is kind of like the source energy where we all come from, in order to fragment into these particularized bodies. That's a word I'm now making up. To get into like particulate matter in this individual body, I have to individuate, i.e., separate some set of particle matter over here that is not technically, even though technically it really is, over there with you, right? And
Yeah,
so that consciousness of separation is like the dominant consciousness of being in the world of form. This is a chair, that's a table, this is a remote, that's a cup. None of them are one, they're all separate things. And so I imagine that that fear is part of that program, some kind of way.
pretty much. Yeah, where
Hmm.
you need to define something for what it is instead of just seeing it all as one.
All is one. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so interesting. Yeah, I was just curious about your opinion about it. Okay, last question before we take some audience questions. If people are drawn to the plant medicine path to facilitate their wholeness as a jump off point for manifestation in the light, what do you recommend they look for to stay safe? Like, what's a good first step?
Look for a good shaman. Um, that would be very important. And I hear these crazy stories about people just taking off and doing it just by themselves, either by themselves as at home, which is not recommended. This is a very like um, very old traditional way of working with this. It's not a tea that you can make at home. You know, I've heard stories and they're not pretty. Um, so try to find the context, the right context, and try to find it personally from someone you know. Or if you are to go and explore by yourself, make sure you tune into what's going on there, because a lot of places, especially in South America, where it became over the last years, it became very advertised and let's make money off of it. It can be not a great place to do ceremonies.
Mm.
You would think that it would be the perfect place to do so, but traditionally speaking, there you would have to find the right person. Otherwise, I wouldn't advise just going la di da, let's do ceremony because it's cool.
But how
Uh,
do you know you found the right person though, Allie? Like what are some questions people might need to consider? And if not external questions, what are some sensations they might want to pay attention to inside?
um, inside, I think we all know when something's up. I think as much as we don't want to listen to our intuition, a lot of the times we know when something is not right. So when you feel the slightest little sign of something's not right here, just get out, just go. And if you were to go by yourself, you can try one ceremony, one place with a shaman is not going to possibly harm you necessarily. If you're not sure on your instincts, on who to ask, what to do, you can try. And if it doesn't feel right, just go. You don't have to stay there. You know, nobody's forcing you to stay throughout the night or throughout if something's not feeling right, just pick yourself up and go. I would keep my ears open to people that have done this. I would ask the best way to go about it in terms of if they worked with a shaman. Is that a good recommendation? Is it not? Most people that have been doing this are pretty open and they're going to tell you, hey, that place is good. That place, it has this, that, and the other. It's a matter of preference. So we're pretty open in the community, you know, that has done it. So if you find someone that has done it, by all means, keep yourself open to the recommendations and ask as many questions as you want, especially about the space and about the facilitator or the shaman or whoever's running the show. And if you hear for sure that it's not the best facilitator, because that's the most important thing to the ceremony, um, don't go. Don't go just for the sake of I have to do ayahuasca today. You'll find it, or it'll find you when it's time.
Mm.
So don't force it. I promise you it's not going to be a great experience if the space is not right.
Mm. Along these lines, we talked about some green flags. Are there any red flags that you want to make sure that people pay attention to, other than word of mouth said that's not good? Any other red flags that it's like, okay, definitely avoid this, that come up for you, or it's all more about personal discernment?
Oh, man. I think it's more personal discernment.
Mhm.
And of course, the source is always important. If it's someone that, did all the plant medicine in the world just for the heck of it, because yeah, it's cool, you should try it. Come on, let's do this and that and the other. Again, not a very reliable source necessarily, And you have to know why you're going there. Most people, 99.9% of the people that do this do it for healing purposes. There's that, 0.1 that does it just for the fun of it. Like, oh, it's going to be fun. In the morning, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to love everything and everyone. And then I go back to my sucky life and it's going to remain sucky. That's not the point of it. So yeah, personal discernment, I would say, for the most part.
You're
I
so
got
well.
lucky. I think I got lucky throughout my life. I didn't even have to discern. I was like, oh, we're going there, we're doing that. Oh, okay, cool. And then it turned out to be the best experience. Uh, but as I started to really kind of use my discernment, yeah, but I still got lucky. I chose the right places um, from the get-go, where I didn't have to use my discernment a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've seen cases where, things can go not great if you're not guided by the right person. So
Yeah, I've heard some similar, or if it's just not your time, right? Like for
yeah,
whatever reason, your
yeah.
orientation to it
Mhm.
is not, you're just not in the right place to plug in.
Yeah.
Let's take some questions here from the chat. I'm scrolling, I'm scrolling, I'm scrolling. Um, ooh, hmm. I mean, Vova Lebedev asked some really beautiful questions, but they're probably much bigger than what this conversation can contain. How do you get to a point of wholeness, and what are the ceremonies? I think ceremonies are probably going to be unique to each shaman. So it's probably not necessarily something we can disclose here, but that
Right.
getting to a point of wholeness piece, I mean, Allie, you got some deep thoughts about that?
As I mentioned earlier, wholeness. Wholeness to me is, again, that place of center within yourself, but it's like we've got so many stuff in the way of that, that we've gained, our own programming, our own traumas, and through ceremonies, yeah, you're going to see those things. Whether or not you're going to try to work on them, that's really up to you. That's where it's a personal choice and a personal journey, just like healing. It's just in ceremony, you're going to see them 10,000 times more amplified. So it's not going to be pretty sometimes.
Amazing. Um, and then somebody says, Anna asks, is it scary? I want to try, but I am scared. Is it scary?
Most people want to try, but they're scared. That's a very good question, because it's a very common one. It is scary. The scary part is that you have to release control completely. And that's the scariest part to everybody. It's like, what do you mean? Release control? No, I have to be in control. That's just like the chocolate part.
I said I wanted strawberries.
The more you want those strawberries, the chocolate is going to be like, So it is scary for that part, but afterwards, that chocolate is going to be delicious. So
And that
it's
just opens the flow to the strawberries.
exactly
The way to the strawberries is through the chocolate.
to the strawberries with chocolate.
Hey, also delicious. Valerie asked, do you feel like you can tap into that state without the plant medicine?
Yes. Yes, through a lot of meditation, probably years of meditation. This is the same thing as that, just this one gives you that split second of it, like, okay, you're there now, but with meditation, I hear you can get to those exact same places.
Mm, amazing. And have you found that the more you've done the experience, the more closely you are aligned with that state almost at all times?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I suspected. Okay.
It's pretty
Um,
hard though to keep it like that in this world, because the world is nuts. I don't know what's going on out there.
I know being out here on social media has me like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Um, Farine asks, what are other ways other than plant medicine? And Allie mentioned meditation for sure. I'll put in a plug for breath work for Farine. There are some holotropic breath work has been documented to help people access um, blocked and stored trauma, fragmented pieces of themselves, and then facilitate deep alignment and integration with states of wholeness that they otherwise couldn't access. So you can Google breath work in your local city or state or town. Other questions we have going on in here. Anna asks, what are patterns or beliefs that shifted because of the plant medicine? That's a great question, Anna. What about you has shifted, would you say, Allie?
It's a great question because a lot have shifted. um, the one big one that was very uncomfortable for me, and I didn't expect it to be so uncomfortable, was the way, especially when I switched from driving a truck to making my income from making videos on YouTube. The way I earn my money, like I thought all my life I need to put in the hard work, I need to break my back, do this, do that, work my ass off to not to say that this doesn't work, because it's work that's really kicking my ass, energetically speaking, in a very different way, but not physical, where I don't have to come home and, my back hurts, my everything hurts because, been driving for hours and then I pull on heavy stuff. And then this is a different kind of pain. It's more tolerable. And, I just take a nap and I recharge basically. And then I'm kind of back to normal. And I love working with energies and I love my job. But that concept of, going from working my ass off physically into working my ass off, but with my energy, I was like, how do you do that? Like, I don't, it doesn't make sense. Don't I have to put in the work to make money? And it's like, and then I realized, wait a minute, this is not about making money. It's about the energy that comes back from the universe. And then it's, it's paid off in what we have in, like you said, the material in this world. So it's rewarded as that. And that was a big one for me. It took me a minute there to transition from this very, very, very stuck belief of I got to work my ass off for money or to get rewarded, into energy exchange. It's actually energy exchange. So that was quite big for me.
Mm.
And I'm sure there were plenty more that changed. Yeah, possibly about relationships, about love, unconditional love, and all of that. There's a lot. It's like a dictionary.
Mm. I mean, many of it, it sounds like that first thing was like the precepts that you think life has to function by. Like, life is this, and therefore I must do that.
Yeah.
Those kind of conditions that had your life render in a certain way.
Yeah.
Right. And we were talking about that before we even got on here, I was like, so I had this precept and I stopped myself from buying into that any longer. Like, there, no more hard work, Kay. No, here's what we're not going to do. So I'm glad that that one came up.
Mm.
Um, ooh, there's so many good questions. I'm going to take one more because we said we'd be here for an hour. How many more questions do you want to answer, Allie? One, two, none? You
Open.
pick your number.
Up to 5 tops.
5? Okay. So you're having fun. I like it. Okay. So then I see here, I really like that question, Anna. Thank you. That was a great one. What happened? Citra asks, what happened when you released the control?
That part I don't want to talk about.
Okay. Well, we'll skip over that.
No. That's something that we all get to experience. This is a very individual experience, but this is something that all of us, when we get to that part, get to experience. And I don't want to ruin it for people. As I said, I don't want people to go there with knowing certain things that are going to happen, especially people that didn't do it. And that's why I prefer not to. But with people that have gone through that, yeah, I talk about it a lot because it's quite funny afterwards, not during. It's quite unpleasant during. But it's basically your ego is dying.
That sounds like so much freaking fun.
It's not going to be feeling quite pretty, but
listen, life has not required I go to a ceremony for that.
That's the best thing that you could do to open up for a ceremony. That's when you literally open up for a ceremony. You're ready.
When life has already decided to destroy your ego.
Pretty much.
It just handed your ego shattered on a plate.
Yeah.
Back to you. Too funny. Okay. Empress Pamela asks, when it comes to participation in ceremony, she's a very practical and pragmatic question. Financially, what should people expect to invest in their experience? I'm sure it's a wide range, but
it is. It varies. And it depends on what's offered too, because a lot of places, if they offer more than 2 ceremonies in a package, like in a 3-day kind of a thing, and most places do, they offer something else too. Maybe a little bit of integration time, maybe a little bit of
coaching afterwards.
Other practices, yeah. So it varies. It's very hard to tell.
Yeah. Okay.
For one ceremony, one night, it should be from 200 and up, but it's going to go up.
It could go all the way up to 2,000 from there or more.
Yes.
I can imagine. Okay. All right. And some other people have put in the chat some really wonderful practices for opening up consciousness for wholeness.
I'm sure there's a lot of them, and I'm sure we're going to hear a lot during this next week with your other guests.
Yoga, somebody mentioned. I think that's great. Meditation, several people said. Breath work for sure. Lots of different opportunities for not just expanding your consciousness, but remembering your wholeness as source incarnate here, you know?
Coming back to self. I think that's the real self.
Yes, the true self.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see other questions here. Danielle affirms or validates it's hard to accept giving away a power you think you have. Jocelyn has an interesting question about binaural beats. Have you experienced binaural beats at all? Have you done any brain entrainment work through that methodology?
Um, I have, but not like a practice. I have listened and I have actually benefited a couple of times from those, but I didn't
Yeah.
make it's like a long term, okay, this is what I want to do with this.
Mm,
I think they're quite beneficial though, if you stick to them.
same. Jocelyn, I'll validate as well. I had an extended practice with a program called HoloSync for many years that provided binaural beats with custom affirmations for me. I will tell you it was absolutely life changing. And I definitely think it was a big piece of what prepared my consciousness for my clairaudience to come online. So,
Cool.
um, let's see. Other questions. Hope Glitterati, I agree. These are great questions. Um, Oh, okay. This is a good distinction to make. Brittany B asked, does plant medicine compare to opening your Akashic records, or is it comparable to opening your Akashic records? I don't know enough about the Akash to speak to that. Do you?
There, I was trying to kind of think about that.
Well, you don't have to answer if you don't feel like that's a place where you have
I'm not,
expertise.
yeah, I'm not quite clear of what that is, but I do believe that it can open up pretty much any door if that's where uh, intention sometimes is quite important in ceremonies. So
Right?
intention, yeah, you can go.
Yeah. But isn't that just kind of the ultimate thing, right? It's like that is like the simplest, most basic, most overlooked first remembrance.
Yeah,
When you set an intention in ceremony, and then that's where you end up going, it's not because the ceremony is special, it's because you have that particular level of programming with life in the universe. A
it's not
ceremony is just one medium via which you get to navigate it.
correct, but it's not all the time that your intention, where you're gonna go to your intention. Sometimes you're gonna
Mm.
go to someplace else where you need to be at that time.
Or maybe you had a stronger agreement or intention to go to that you just weren't even consciously aware of.
Exactly. Going back to sometimes we don't even know what we want. So
We are so powerful, y'all. So powerful.
yeah.
Um, Debbie, I think I may have answered your question. I check out some binaural beats if I were you. Um, let's see. We'll take two last ones here. I'm looking for the question marks. How long, Vova asks, has Allie been reading tarot, and when did she realize she had a gift for reading? Great question.
When the universe broke me. Um well, in June my channel turned 4 years old, and
Mm.
the beginning of June. And I started learning how to read a month prior to my opening my channel. Um,
You don't do anything slow, do you?
no, especially from that moment forward. Because it once I learned what the cards were, my intuition kind of came in quite strong, and I just let it. And I'm like, okay, well, I think it's time for me to start doing something with it, even though initially I wanted to do it just for me. Um, so I actually was one that would run away from tarot readings, especially coming from my background, my cultural background, where I'm originally Romanian, and there's a lot of tarot readers that are, I don't want to call them scammers, even though they are. Growing up with that or surrounded by that, I used to run from it a lot. And, because they were out just to make money off of us. And I'm like, yeah, no, no. And then I started watching YouTube with some readers, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'll do this for myself. But then with the thought that, I would probably open up a coaching practice or something in the future, I'm like, let me put it on YouTube. Maybe I'll have a few people follow me, and, I can start a business. And then it turned into this.
Hmm.
So,
Happy 4th anniversary. I really love that. That is amazing. This is my anniversary month as well. This is my 5-year mark.
oh, nice. Happy anniversary. Yay.
Thank
I'll take
you.
cake with
Uh,
chocolate and strawberries.
exactly. Exactly. I really like this last question. We'll take this as the final one. Um, Somebody asks any health risks with the plants and plant ceremonies that I might want to ask about or be aware of. They mentioned they have a neurological disorder. Um, I think there's probably a very general answer to that, but I'd love to hear how you would speak to it, Allie.
Yeah, there's quite a few instances in which you should probably not do ceremonies. One of them would be, depending on what it is, of course, but most neurological issues interfere.
Mm,
The plant interferes with that, so it could actually make it worse. So I
mm,
would recommend, and I would recommend anywhere you go in ceremony, just be honest about your issues, whatever it is you have. Better safe than sorry, because in some instances, it can actually cause a lot of damage. So, in other instances, it can actually help with certain issues, but again, it depends on what it is. And we all facilitators, we know what's what, if you tell us what's best for you and whether or not you should do it. So just try to be honest, which I know a
mm.
lot of people won't be, but be honest. Like, nah, there's nothing wrong with me. But
Dishonest at your own risk.
yeah, and there's some other conditions, not only neurological, but and of course, medications, always put that in there.
Yeah. I guess that would be a nice green flag when, people are like, oh, you could work with that shaman or this shaman, or you could go here to do it. A green flag we could look for would be that they have a thorough intake form and they're asking about this stuff.
Yeah, this would be a good one for sure. You should
Okay.
ask about the medication you're taking, about conditions you may have.
Yeah. They should be asking you, not only you also taking accountability for yourself and asking them. It should be both ways.
Yep.
Should be, I use should loosely there, but I think the one of the things that I really like about hearing you talk about this path as part of your own path toward wholeness has been the level of personal accountability you've had to take every single time you've stepped into ceremony, because it's a circumstance in which, yes, if I'm giving up all control, I'm also choosing very counterintuitively to be 100% responsible for anything that happens to me, through me in the circumstance. Meaning, if I'm not feeling good, yeah, I got to get myself up and leave. I don't just sit there and stay, shrug my shoulders, and just let things I don't feel good about happen. I take responsibility for that. And
Mhm.
so there's a real, just choosing to enter this space comes with such a high level of encounter with our personal power that even just choosing to be in this space is a step toward wholeness, even if you choose to take yourself out of the space. There's an encounter with personal power in that too. And all of those lead to amplified manifestation ability. Allie, it was a treat to have you here today. Those of you that don't know Allie, this is your first time meeting her. You can find her over at Allie's Tarot. Link, I believe the moderators have placed in the chat. Moderators, you guys are rock stars. Thank you for doing this. The next interview up will be from Sarah Tilsley. We're going to see, she is the creator of Reiki Dreams on YouTube. And let me tell you, she's got the Reiki badassery going on. She's another level. It's like Reiki is not even quite the word for the level of like power that flows through her hands when she opens her hands to the screen. So you guys will enjoy that. That will be on Wednesday, July 12th at 2 p.m. Eastern. +4, 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean. And then tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean, we will hear from Lee and Sherry of Relationship Reinvented. They run the coaching program that Allie mentioned that she graduated from. Big thumbs up from both of us for Lee and Sherry. And they're going to talk about what it means to manifest in union. And for those of you who are not in union or not married, if relationship is something that matters to you, and something tells me if you're either kicking it with Allie or you're kicking it with me, we want relationship focused YouTube channels. So if you want love, if you want marriage, if you want partnership, whether you're coupled or not, my recommendation is to show up and as my coach says, participate in the atmosphere of marriage. Just participate. Show up in the atmosphere. See what it gives you. Let it inspire you and feed you. They're going to talk about what it means to manifest in connection. Two hearts are better than one. The power can definitely be amplified when two powerful creators are on the same page. And we'll get into some practices and ways that that can be amplified between two people. You guys, it was great to be here with you. Allie, a treat to chat with you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me again.
It's always a good time with you. Always a great time. And everyone, if you haven't already hit the like button, please do, and subscribe so that and hit the notification bell so you know when I go live again. We've got a stellar lineup between now and the 17th of July, 7/17, with tons of great interviews. Even if you can't listen to them all live, you want to hit that notification bell. So if you catch something that you want to save to your own private playlist later, you'll be able to do that and re-listen at your leisure. Take great care, everyone, and bye.